you can't have something with George Takai without him throwing in at least one oh my at some point. I would love to invite Devin Tao and Stacey Rice up onto the stage to join us to talk about this wonderful film. Thank you, everyone, for sticking with us. I know it's been a very long day. We have 2 more films left to go today. And hello to our live streaming audience. Hello, everyone all around the world who is watching us and joining us here at the Ross Ragland Theater. I'd like to welcome Stacey Rice, who you know from the film, and Devin Tao. We have microphones here you can grab. I sanitized them earlier. Devin is the elder statesman of the Klamath Independent Film Festival. I say that because this is the, I believe, 5th film that he has had in our festival, and our festival is only 9 years old.
5th consecutive.
Yeah, 5 straight films. Every single year, somehow Devin keeps coming back. And we appreciate you coming back. Thank you back to Klamath Falls. We missed you last year. So I hope you're enjoying it.
I was there virtually, though.
Yeah. Yes. Well, you were here. You connected with us online, so thank you for doing that. I know you've done a lot of narrative work, but what was the motivation to want to make this documentary?
Well, it was my first feature, and I thought it would be easier to do a doc instead of a narrative. So I think the filmmakers in the audience think that's really funny, but then the mountain thing, I think that made it a little bit harder. But I just always wanted to climb Mount Hood, and those of us that are here from Portland, I think we all feel that pull and that inspiration and that draw. So, if we're gonna climb it, might as well make a movie about it.
And as a filmmaker myself, when I watch this, it's easy to get caught up in the characters that are hiking. We forget when we're watching it, there's also people behind the camera too who are also hiking the mountain with them, carrying big heavy camera equipment too. So that was when Devin and I did our Q&A last month for our online audience, and we have a lengthy Q&A that you can check out on demand through our site. My question was, dude, seriously, you want to take your big heavy camera equipment all the way up that mountain and back? Really? You sure you don't want to take like a GoPro that's going to be nice and small, but this big bulky thing? How did you deal with all of the equipment?
Well, as the director, I didn't have to carry any cameras, so so I think that was the secret. Yeah, I mean, we had an amazing team. We had somebody fly up from San Francisco, who had worked on all the big mountaineering films, the climbing films, including, I can't remember what that one was called. Do you know the one I'm talking about? Anyway, he did, yeah, so it was an amazing team, and they definitely ran ahead, ran back, carrying heavy stuff, and didn't complain. So, yeah, I was very lucky. We were very lucky.
And apologies to the audience, we are running about 10 minutes late in the schedule, so for those who are following along with all of our live streams, we're trying to keep things going, but we are running a few minutes late. Stacey, how did you get involved in this project, and what compelled you to want to climb Mount Hood?
Well, I had a dear friend of mine in Portland that emailed me to tell me, I just met with this director that's doing this really incredible film, and I think you need to apply to be part of it. Devin had like an application process, actually an application that you had to fill out, asking lots of amazingly good questions. But before I started filling out the application, I got thinking, I mean, like you saw in the movie and like Devin just mentioned, I mean, Mount Hood is a part of your everyday life in Portland. You see it. I've hiked all around the base of it. And it really does become one with you, I think. And so I'd never climbed a mountain before. I'd done a lot of hiking. So I said, okay, I think I'm going to give this a shot and see how it goes.
And as a reminder, if anyone wants to ask a question, we have a microphone there and there that you can walk up to and take a question. The film touches on, at the very end, it talks about how people can be an ally a little bit. Do you want to maybe go into more detail? We do have a burgeoning LGBTQ community here in Klamath. We just had a Pride event about a month ago here. but just how people can be generally supportive, and how people can help out to further LGBTQ rights and equal rights. Any advice or suggestions that people can do to try to help spread the knowledge and understanding?
Oh, thanks, Devin. Yeah, that's a very important thing. I mean, at best, I think estimates the LGBTQ population is probably only around 6 to 10%, somewhere in that range. So there's a lot of you straight folks out there versus our community. And it's just so important, I think, mainly when we're not around, when you're with family, when you're with friends. Maybe they're making some really, just terrible comments about folks who are gay or bi or trans, queer. Where you can, that's where we need your help to be able to stand up and say, no, I know some gay people. I know a trans person. You're seeing one today. So, and just kind of disputing kind of maybe where they're coming from. I mean, it really is just a lack of education, I think, in a lot of ways, and that people don't know, quite what your journey's about. So, yeah, we need your help. We need it, a lot.
I think we might have had a question over here. Yes?
I was just going to say, Stacey, you are the beating heart of that film and a remarkable, remarkable voice. And Devin is very lucky to have had you fill out that application. Just a quick question for both of you. What was the hardest part of making this feature-length film?
Climbing the mountain, probably. I mean, that's kind of a tough question for a filmmaker. I mean, a first feature, as you know, Justin, it's hard to make a feature. It's hard to make a short, but it's really hard to make a feature. And so just so grateful for all the friends and family and the amazing cast and the donors and sponsors and Oregon Film. And I mean, you saw the credits is almost as long as the movie because it required all these people to come together and want to support us. So just a second part to Stacey's answer was, I think want to thank Klamath Independent Film Festival for programming our film. Want to thank everybody in the audience and virtually. Watching this film is really it's an example of you guys just supporting the LGBTQ community. Mm-hmm. So thank you for doing that, and just continue to learn and continue to invite us and and engage with us and hear our stories.
Yeah, I'd like to add too that in thinking about what was the most difficult part, I'm thinking about climbing too. That was pretty hard, but I think, as you can imagine, just being able to be vulnerable enough to share yourself and your story and your journey. I mean, goodness, you have to dig pretty deep for that. My work in Portland has included working at an LGBTQ community center, and I'd shared my story off and on during the 5.5 years I was there, but it was all surface. I had to dig deep, and I give Devin so much credit for just providing an incredibly supportive and safe space to be able to do that, and also the crew too. So yeah, it can be kind of hard to, I found that there were things that I thought I'd left behind decades ago pop back up again, and I still needed to work on them. So yeah, but Devin gave a great space to work through those.
We do need to talk about George Takai's involvement in this film. George has local connections. I'm sure a lot of people who, people here in Klamath all know George Takai, not obviously icon for Star Trek, also an icon amongst the LGBTQ community, but he also has a local tie-in because when he was a kid, his entire family was interned during World War II, like so many Japanese Americans were. The camp that he lived in was in Tule Lake, which is just on the other side of the Oregon-California border, about a 45-minute drive away from here. So I think it's every other year, they have a remembrance here, and they hold the event here at the Ross Ragland, and the surviving individuals and family members come out to remember those who, survived the Tule Lake internment camp. And George has been here a few times for that, right, Steve? So yeah, so George has been standing on this stage with us multiple times to remember his experiences when he was a kid stuck here against his will in Tule Lake during World War II. So on a happier note, let's talk about how George Takai got involved in narrating this film, because George is one of a handful of individuals, even if you don't know the name immediately, you hear that voice and within 2 words, like, oh, it's that guy. I immediately know that voice right off the top. So Devin, obviously an icon in so many different ways. How did you get connected to him, and what was it like working with him?
So I'm totally a fanboy, and George Takei is just like a hero of mine growing up. I'm a immigrant to the country. I didn't speak a word of English when we came when I was 8. And like a lot of immigrants, we learn English by watching TV. So it was like watching Star Trek and like Bewitched and Gilligan's Island. Like that's how I learned English. And so he was the only like Asian actor that wasn't playing like a laundry person or like that owned a restaurant. And I always remember that. And so I knew I wasn't going to be in the film, but I wanted like a LGBTQ Asian presence. And unfortunately, there were only 3 people that I could come up with that anybody would recognize. And George was the first. And we went to him, and luckily he said yes. And he did it for a very low fee. So just so grateful that he lent his gravitas to our little film.
Fantastic. Do we have any final questions for Devin or Stacey? If not, we will move on to our next film, which is 2 Below Zero. Devin, thank you once again for being here. You've been a supporter of our festival. You've been a submitter for our festival for so long. I feel like you should have my job. Because you have more ties to the Klamath Independent Film Festival than I do.
I'd rather make movies though, but thank you.
Well, we appreciate you coming back. Thank you for making this wonderful film. And we have an autograph poster that Devin has signed for us that we need to give away to someone. Devin, I will leave that up to you for who walks away with that. But that poster that's standing next to you is also for you to take home and enjoy. That is a Klamath Independent Film Festival poster of your film.
Thank you.
Stacey, Devin, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next film is our shortest feature. I know that's kind of an oxymoron, but our shortest feature-length film called 2 Below Zero. It is a comedy that was shot in the Bend, Redmond area. Afterwards, we will be joined by the director, Tim Cash. So thank you so much for sticking around with us. Remember, we will be doing this all day tomorrow as well, culminating with our awards. And tonight, after 2 Below Zero and our final film, A Hurricane with Fire, we're going to be having an after party for all of our filmmakers and all of our wonderful guests who have stuck with us today over at Klamath Basin Brewery. So I hope that you can join us over there for some good food and drinks. Thank you so much for sticking with us, and enjoy 2 Below Zero.